Joint practice with the Raiders is underway, and spoiler alert, the 49ers lost a player to injury. We'll get to that, plus how Robert Saleh had the Broncos' first-team offense in the torture chamber in the first game of the preseason, all on today's Gold Standard Podcast. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard Podcast. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera, alongside Johnny Dell from the Johnny Dell Football Academy. How you doing on this fine Thursday, Johnny?
I am doing pretty good. I mean, as well as can be expected, considering I think my favorite player from this draft and camp, it just appears to have had some sort of injury. Hopefully it's not serious, but any injury at this point, especially when guys are developing, is a setback, and it's going to set how many times have we heard an injury? Somebody's had a little injury and they say, well, it'll be all right. They should be ready by week one. They go through the season, and then when they talk about it the next year, they go, well, they had that setback, go all the way back to training camp, and that really put them behind the eight ball, and they've been trying to play catch up. I mean, Kalia Davis is a perfect example of that. We're just talking about that with him, and I think that's the most frustrating thing right now.
If you don't know what we're talking about, the joint practice with the Raiders is underway. We're going to get to the Saleh film breakdown, I promise you. But Matt Mayoko tweeted out, CJ West's left knee buckled, and he went down during a one-on-one pass rush drill. The Niners medical staff checked him out, and he was able to walk back on his own for further observation. It is infuriating, Johnny. They can't do any football activity without losing somebody. They lost Ben Barch yesterday. Bosa's not practicing today. Now, they claim it's just soreness with Bosa. Who knows? But anytime this team does any football, one of their important players gets hurt.
Yeah, and the Bosa thing, it's concerning just because why is he experiencing multiple days of soreness, and recurring soreness? That's not normal for a professional athlete. I mean, if this was the first week of camp and, neck sore from having that helmet on, I remember doing that. You'd get in there and you were wearing the helmet for the first time in a long time. Your neck would be a little bit sore, or you're getting back into some conditioning of football shape. You're sore in those first few days, but after that, it tends to go away. It's not just sore because, a muscle's getting worked a little bit hard and the lactic acid is building up. There's something else that's going on there. This isn't just soreness.
Yeah, soreness, air quotes. I think something's fishy there with Nick Bosa. Remember, Kyle values the joint practice more than the games, and he held Bosa out of this joint practice. He comes back for a day, then he goes away. Soreness. That to me is dicey. That is a very dicey proposition, and we'll have to wait and see what else is happening and with Nick Bosa or any of these other guys. Bosa, Mykel Williams, Upton Stout, Renardo Green, and Yetur Gross-Matos were working on the side and, quote, moving well, whatever that means. Ashton Jeanty apparently is breaking off long runs. Not surprising because the 49ers have had 20 defensive linemen on the roster, Johnny, and we haven't even played the second preseason game.
Yeah, I mean, you look around the league, and I guess I'm thankful that they haven't had a starter go down to season-ending injury like some of these other teams have, like the Chargers had with Rashawn Slater. It seemed like it was going to be a little bit worse for Landon Dickerson. Thankfully, for him, that it isn't as bad as it could be. It's a torn meniscus, and they're looking at several weeks and then some rehab that could have been a season-ending injury. But so you're thankful that that's not the case, but it just seems like you can't get bodies in there to practice. Because one thing that was, I guess, illuminating to me was, I don't know if you caught the build last night. The 49ers released their episode of that, and Kyle Shanahan was talking to the team before camp, and basically they have a cap limit on reps that players will take during these camp practices, and that everybody's going to get to a certain number, and they're doing this for supposedly health and safety. And
how's that working out?
It's not working out really well at all. But you go, okay, there's getting to a point they're not going to be able to have enough reps, that they're just going to run out of bodies to have the reps. That means that your offensive line is going to get fewer reps. When you don't have enough defensive line players, they've been bringing in some players literally to just have bodies for certain players to practice against, live bodies to practice against. We usually call them camp bodies, but it's just so that you're not having to have Alfred Collins take 80 reps in a day. That's going to wear him down. And so you're trying to bring in extra camp bodies in, but you're doing this in so many different positions now that you really start to wonder how effectively can you practice in these moments. And that's becoming very concerning.
I haven't watched the build yet. I want to watch it. That's very interesting because that to me is the 49ers trying to put their PR spin out there. See, we're trying with injuries. It's not our fault, but I want to watch it before I give my final judgment. Brisbee Life says, Rob, it's time for you to suit up on the defensive line. Yes, that's just what they need. A 5'10", 140-pound guy who's never played football in any organized capacity in his life before. Yep. That is just what this 49ers defense needs.
Hey, that would really mix up the looks. I'm just saying.
This is what he called Robert Saleh. And it's funny you mentioned that because as we get to the film breakdown part of the show, I was super excited watching Robert Saleh and this defense on Saturday. Some of the different things they were doing, particularly on third down. And apparently I wasn't the only one, because I heard Chris Sims talking about it on his show, Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Here's what he had to say about Robert Saleh.
I'm excited about the 49ers and some of the young talent. You saw that game. Bo Nix was not comfortable early on. And Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley being there in San Francisco, those are the inventors. Gus Bradley invented Seattle 3 up there with Pete Carroll. Robert Saleh worked underneath them. I think those are going to be, some great under-the-radar, difference makers in the NFL this year are those two coaches for the 49ers.
So Sims is excited about it. I'm excited about it. When you turned on the film, are you excited about it?
Absolutely. And you're just seeing a return to some very sound defense for what the 49ers do, and sound in their scheme, and bringing it back. I put it on my X account. It's like hot stew on a cold winter day. It's just comfortable. It feels good. It makes you feel warmer, and it makes you feel better about some things. But we'll jump into some Marquis Siegel first, because that will then lead into Robert Saleh and what he's doing, because you have to have the players in the secondary and executing some of the things in the secondary to do this. If you remember back to that Seattle 3, that was very reliant upon Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas, that you had safeties who could fly, they could hit, they could cover the short and medium areas very well, and the outside corners long and able to take away a lot of deep stuff without needing help down towards those seams. And so we're going to see Marcus Siegel first. He's right here. Let me do this in red so we can see it a little bit better against the shiny field of Levi's. The Broncos are coming here with a little swing pass. So they're going to try and get up with 3 blockers on your 3 underneath guys. Siegel is back. He is a deep safety, and they're going to run a little swing pass here with the running back. And so they want their running back one-on-one in lots of space against Siegel. That's what you're trying to get here. That would be a win for almost any team in the NFL. They're going to look at that and say, our high draft pick Harvey one-on-one with a 5th round pick safety in tons of space. Win. You're gonna love that 10 times out of 10, and watch the way that Marcus Siegel is gonna first see this. They get the blocking they want. They have a hat on a hat, and they're gonna create a lane right through here. So, we do in football. You have a lot of times have these tackling drills where you will set up 10 yards wide, cone to cone, and you put it 10 yards deep. And it's for open field tackling, and you will have guys run around the cones and meet each other in there to do these tackling drills, because it is so hard, and it is one of the hardest things to teach guys how to fly up here against a guy in this lane and make a tackle. This is one of the harder things as far as tackling to do, that open field tackling. And you're going to watch Marcus Siegel come up in here, break down, and make a solid tackle. This is a perfect form tackle. The way he goes about this is textbook technique on tackling, and it's the guys who are able to beat this, like Harvey, are what you draft them for. And he does it to perfection. Some of the detail on this, just for those who haven't played football and had to do this drill before, one thing you want to do is you first cut off your man to the outside. You don't give him a lane to the outside. So he's going to come at a slight angle, attack the outside hip, and he's going to break down. So he doesn't just charge out there, break down, and then you watch the belt buckle. So his eyes are going to be on the belt buckle, and where the belt buckle goes, that's where you go. The head doesn't tell you where it's going to go. These guys do head fakes all the time. You watch the belt buckle. So you cut off the far hip, you watch the belt buckle, and then you attack the near hip as they break in, and you reach and wrap. And I love it. That is textbook tackling.
And the reason you cut off, you prevent him from going to the outside, because at the bare minimum, if you miss the tackle, you want to force him back to the rest of the help where all the other tacklers are. If he gets to the outside, there's nobody there. And it was a tremendous play for Marquise Siegel. All my notes are just Marquise Siegel and Chase Lucas. Those were the two guys whose names I was writing over and over and over again. And I was super excited because I didn't have any expectations for Marquise Siegel. So it wasn't like me trying to hype him up. It was, holy crap, this guy keeps doing good things.
Yeah, and we covered some of his college tape on an episode, and the one thing that we were talking about was he was physical to come up and make a tackle on it, but he sometimes had poor angles, and so that caused some issues there. He's going to be really good in coverage. Another thing that I was curious about, what does he look like in coverage? So we're running what's called a palms coverage or read 2. So you see these guys, their eyes are on what's called the number 2 receiver. So you number these from the outside. Here's 1, here's 2, and here's 3. And palms is sometimes called palms, sometimes it's called read 2, depending on whose system you're in and what they call it. So these guys read the release of the number 2 receiver. If he goes on an out route at 5 yards or less, then this is going to convert to cover 2. So your corner is going to take the flat and your safety's got to go deep half. If the number 2 doesn't go outside at 5 yards or less, if he releases vertical, this converts to quarters. So he's playing quarter safety in these quarters. And if this number 2 comes up and he passes 8 yards with anything vertical, then he's got to match in man. So this is a complex defense. It's something that requires a lot of post-snap processing and figuring out of what the receivers are going to do. And watch the way that he's going to read this, pick it up, and match where Bo Nix wants to go with the ball. So Bo Nix wants to hit this over route. He wants to come here. They're clearing this out, and they're running a little trail on this side. He wants to hit that over route right in this area. First, a good drop back by Tatum Bethune. He's going to get into the throwing lane, and then Marcus Siegel's got inside leverage, and he's going to undercut this route, and that forces Bo Nix to move off of the deep over that he wants, and he's going to come down to the running back and check it down, and that puts you in the kill zone then, where these guys can come up and make tackles, and that's what a Robert Saleh defense looks like all the time, right? You see it, quarterback drops back, he hits that back foot, it's not there in the intermediate level, and he has to check it down, and you go and you make a solid tackle. But that doesn't happen if your safety doesn't read this out right, play it correctly, attack the route. You see, he's not trailing back. He's attacking the route. He's closing the distance, and Bo Nix has to move on and come down here because he doesn't like that these two guys are going to make this throw really tight. So you get that check down. It's checked down, and boom, a tackle. And you notice, I didn't pause it quite in time, but if you notice, this tackle is being made after 2 yards. That's a 2-yard pass. That is the design of the defense.
You can see the defenders already collapsing on that receiver as Bo Nix is throwing the ball. So they're looking at him. They've made their break to make the tackle. So they were all over it. And you're right. That's the solid defense in a nutshell. Stop you from going deep, force you to go shorter than you want, go make the tackle. And you're not going to be able to do that again and again and again without something going wrong all the way down the field all game long.
Yeah, it forces the offense to be perfect the whole way and settle and settle for not being explosive. So many offenses want explosive plays. Because it is so hard to go that long without having a false start, without having a holding penalty, without having an illegal hands to the face, something going wrong on your offensive side. And so not a drop pass, like they force you to be perfect. The other thing that happens a lot in this defense is, especially with a wide 9, is you get this gap in here between the tackle and the guard, or the tackle and the tight end, and those safeties have to fill in one of these two holes a lot of times. It just will kind of move depending on the call and whatnot, but they have to be able to stick their nose in there and fill against the run. And you're going to see him do that here. He's going to stick his nose in there. He's going to work through the traffic and go get in on the tackle. That's the kind of stuff you want to see from your safeties. Can they fill? Jair Brown really struggled with this last year. Really struggled with this fill, was to come down. Oh, I guess I cut off that one before it hit the end zone. Didn't realize that. My bad. But that's just what you want to see. And seeing that here is all positive flashes, all good things, and why he's in the mix for one of the starting positions come week 1.
And Saleh said this week he could play either safety spot, that he's got the range to do it, which is obviously fantastic. The more you can do, right, the more opportunities you'll get on the field. It means that you don't necessarily have to take him off the field when, fingers crossed, Malik Mustafa comes back and is able to start for this team, because I think he would be the other safety. So huge stock up for Marquise Siegel.
Huge stock up, and huge boon for this defense that you now have, come week 4, you might have multiple options at safety and depth at safety with Jair Brown, who's got starting experience. I would like to see Siegel push him out of that starting spot, but he has experience and he has depth there. You have Jason Pinnock, who's played a lot of years in this league. You have Malik Mustafa, who's a physical freak. That gives you so many options on defense, and it turns what has been a position of weakness in the past into a position of strength, but they got to get everybody healthy. So then finally, here's the last thing. It wasn't all, beautiful and roses. There was a couple miscues in here, and this is one of them. We're coming with a slot blitz from Chase Lucas. He's coming off the edge. And the Broncos are running a couple verticals down the seam, and then they're going to run the running back out into the flat. He's going to be the quarterback's hot. So normally, and I'm going to try not to get too deep into the weeds on this, normally if Siegel is in this hook zone or even a curl flat over here in a normal cover 3, the Seattle 3, what Sims was talking about, if you have a vertical from the number 2, he's going to carry that to about 10 yards, and then he's going to attack. They like to carry down those seams, protect your deep safety. That way you can also roll you can roll safeties to one side or the other, and it helps protect your seams. That's been kind of the Seattle moniker. Cam Chancellor was that guy, right? He would carry down the seams, and then I remember it was one play he did that and then was able to cover towards the sidelines. That was a knockout hit on Vernon Davis on the sideline, was him carrying and then attacking the sideline. So normally he's got to carry that seam. But we're in a slot blitz and playing what's called a fire zone behind it, which is a fire zone is just an F word for 5-man rush with zone behind it. So you have a fire zone. So you're 3 deep, 3 underneath on your fire zone. Now, because it's a fire zone, you have a 3 receiver hook with Tatum Bethune. He's going to carry the seam. And Marcus Siegel then has to go attack the flat. So this is one, he plays as how he normally would if it was a normal zone. Now it's a fire zone. He's got to hand off these responsibilities. And then you're going to see the outside corners tasked with what's called a zebra. So he's got to stripe this down inside the numbers and split the difference on 2 verticals there to also help squeeze the seam. That's how you protect that. But what you're going to see is as this comes vertical, he's going to lock onto this too and help. And Tatum Bethune's already retreating to carry that seam a little bit, and so nobody picks up the running back. If Bo Nix hits this pass, I mean, it is like huge green grass out here, but you see, you end up doubling the seam and you have a safety over the top. That's not how the defense is designed to be. Siegel's got to come down here and pick up that running back to be able to attack. So if they hit the hot, it's tackle immediately. That's one thing that Steve Spagnuolo's defense is so good at. So, thankfully, the pressure forces an incompletion and you don't have all this green grass taken advantage of, but that's a learning rep for him. But that is the things you're going to see is that we presented a no pressure package, and then you come in the fire zone and you get Chase Lucas free off the edge. That's the kind of stuff that Robert Saleh is then bringing to this 49ers defense, is that it's not going to be vanilla. That's what I'm most excited about.
Thank God. Just watching it first third down of the game, they had like 8 guys on the line of scrimmage. And I was like, yes, where has this been all my life? I remember Saleh would do this, especially in the playoffs. He'd have everybody up at the line of scrimmage. And then at the snap, certain guys would drop off, certain guys would blitz. It just made quarterbacks uncomfortable. And Sims mentioned it in the clip I played. Bo Nix did not look comfortable. And there were too many times last year, Johnny, especially I'm remembering the freaking Vikings game with Sam Darnold, where quarterbacks were never uncomfortable in any way by this defense. So as soon as I saw them line up on that first third down, I was like, we're back. We're back, baby.
Yeah, and here was my issue with Sorensen. Sorensen was like bizarro. I'm just going to draw something on here so we don't get flagged for copyright. Sorensen was like bizarro Saleh sometimes. He loved to show zone coverage and then go to man, which I understand. Like, you get to a point where you're saying, okay, I'm gonna fool them and I'm gonna make these quarterbacks work post snap, but then you can end up with some really poor matchups. Your safety, Odom, being in man coverage on Justin Jefferson is a perfect example, and you give up a 97-yard touchdown. That is outsmarting yourself. You're trying so hard to disguise something, and then you run like it. I don't like the philosophy of saying I'm going to show zone and run man. I like Saleh's approach is often more times I'm going to show man and run zone. So and that's what we'll see here, that you have so many more of these that it's like we're going to show man. They're showing man coverage here, so you're giving a presentation and you're using your safeties as like ultimate chess pieces. So you got man presentation here. So you're showing that we're going to come with a blitz off the left side, but we're also then going to walk Pinnock, this safety, up over this tight end. So that means you have the potential for this guy to come. So you have threats all over here. You know, and I think it was Brad Graham was talking about this, that he was seeing stuff where you saw Bosa and Williams and Huff all lined up on the same side. That's what you would do here. You'd have all these guys lined up on one side. You're presenting a rushing threat here, rushing threat here. You have a rushing threat from the slot. You got rushing threats all over the place. You could be running cover 0 and this be an all-out blitz. And that's kind of what they do here. This is a form of 0. It's a matching. So this isn't straight man. Each one is picking up a numbering coming out off of the post snap. So you're going to pick up the running back here first in. He's going to have first out from the inside. Luter's going to pick up an outside release from the receiver. You got this locked up in man. And Bethune is going to pick up the number 2 or number 3 here if he goes vertical right there. So you have a way to pick everything up. You're bringing this blitz of 6 guys, and you're getting somebody at the quarterback. Now, Pinnock has to go and pick this tight end up. He chipped and then released. Pinnock's got to go pick him up. So this is a bust here. I think he's thinking if this goes deep, he's got to go. The other safety is going to go pick him up, and that's not what's happening here. So there's a miscommunication between these two guys. Got to get cleaned up, but that gets covered up when you have a free runner off the edge.
Yes, this just pressure helps your secondary.
Yeah, it helps your secondary, helps everybody. You get a free runner off the edge, and you force a safety. It's fantastic. That's the kind of stuff you love to see, because you're presenting all of these threats to, and this is going to help your guys like Bosa and Mykel Williams. When you have this, how do you sort out if this is a Nick Bosa or Mykel Williams? How do you sort out to make sure that your guard or your tackle is the one taking him on? That's what you're doing, is you're saying, okay, we now are going to dictate the terms of engagement for our defensive players. Nice. We can put the matchup that we want against who we want. We're not just saying, Nick Bosa, we're going to line you up against the right tackle and win every time. And he's getting chipped and he's getting doubled. It's not going to be that way. Now you say, okay, we're going to have favorable matchups, and if they start doubling Bosa because of this, and you're running stunts and you're running twists and all this stuff, it's happening. You're able to do that, and Bosa is able to get more opportunities. So I'm loving the look of this defense more. You're showing a zero look. I mean, this is straight man coverage, cover zero look. You are squared up here. You got all your guys walked up. You got 7 guys on the line of scrimmage right there, right? So you are forcing pressure on this. You're going to give this all out look. And what you're going to do is Bone, I believe this is that Stidham? I can't remember. I didn't put in my notes who it was, if it was Stidham or Bo Nix. That looks like Stidham in there, but he's wanting this running back in the flat because you're giving this heavy pressure man look. So what you're thinking is, okay, I got this safety on my running back. I'm going to get this traffic through here, a rub. So he's going to have to go over that to get to my running back in the flat. That's where I want to go. So your quarterback's already pre-snap thinking, I'm going to hit the running back in the flat. Great. Okay. But what you're going to end up doing here is you will back out of this late, and it's running at half speed, so it's moving a little slow. You back out of this late, and you dropping into what's called quarter, half palms. So on the other side, you're running quarters, and they're running palms. You can see they're watching the release of the number 2. So what I talked about earlier, you're running a read 2 over here. On the other side, you're going cover 2 zone. So you end up getting a deep half safety, what we call cloud or corner in the flat area, which is within 2 to 8 yards in the flat. And then you get a hook curl over there. So as Bo Nix is the quarterback's dropping back, he's looking for this halfback in the flat, and there's a corner sitting right here. So he doesn't have what he wanted. Now you're forcing the quarterback into post-snap work, and now you have a matchup of this safety on their tight end on a corner route. They don't love that. That's not a great matchup on that kind of a route. So so the quarterback now has to work past that. He says, okay, whoa, I didn't have that. I thought I was going to have it. Now I got to work. And so your zone guys are sitting, your quarters on the other side is matching this over. You have now the under route. You have a linebacker sitting right on it. So when the quarterback looks this way, it's taken away. What I thought was there because it was going to be man is now zone, and they're sitting in that zone right in the lanes that we're looking for, and I can't get there. And that gives your defensive end time to come off the edge, and this leads to a sack. So this is a sack created by the coverage. You force that quarterback into post-snap work because you showed this heavy, and then you dropped into the perfect zone coverage on the back end where you take away where they want to go. And so now you're forcing the quarterback to get to his 5th read is where you're trying to get him to. All through post-snap work, that gives your defensive line time to get home. And you give that to players like Nick Bosa, Michael Williams, Bryce Huff. You're going to see pass rush, and that is what we have been missing.
And they got home with 4 too. It wasn't even like they had to bring anybody extra on that play. You're able to get home with 4. It's just complementary. You've got the different layers of the defense working together. Imagine that. And it felt, how many times did we hear with Steve Wilks and Nick Sorensen about marrying coverage to the rush and all of that stuff? This is what we're talking about. One should make the other stronger or better. And it's nice to see. And I know it was one game. I know it was a preseason, all the caveats. I get it. But this isn't Robert Saleh's, first time on the merry-go-round. He knows what he's doing. This isn't an accident. It's going to come up again and again.
Exactly. And this is classic what they have done here. This isn't him showing, like, people get worried of like, oh, you're going to show everybody what you're doing. And he talked about, he's like, this is stuff we've done since like 2017 and even before that in Seattle. And so, he's like, people, it's already out there on tape. Everybody knows we do this. So this is like just bringing back the old stuff that looks new again, that still works. It's still very effective. And they're going to add on top of this. So I'm just getting really excited for what Saleh is going to do. You have another time here. They're presenting an all-out blitz man coverage look. I mean, you look at this pre-snap and you're thinking, this is all-out man. This is an all-out blitz. They brought both linebackers up. They have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. You have an all-out look. And the Broncos are running an old Y cross here. So you're going to hook up the top, and you're going to run the Y on a deep crossing route. And so Bo Nix wants that because he's thinking, I got man coverage. That's where I want to go. I'm going to get the explosive coming out of there. And what do? You end up backing out of it again, and you're running zone. Or you're running man. Sorry. So you are running man. but you've got a deep safety help. So now if they run this wide cross, you got a safety sitting over there. And so you're running into deep help, and because your running backs are playing, it's called back out their side. So each running back is taking, if this back goes out to that side, you got a running back there. If he comes out to the other side, you got a linebacker that's going to match him there, so that neither of your linebackers are leveraged. They play inside out, and they don't have to try and chase somebody across the field, which we saw with Steve Wilks. That was one thing that drove me nuts with Steve Wilks, is that you would see linebackers trying to chase a running back or Travis Kelce the way across the formation. And you saw that kind of stuff. And so now we're playing back out. If the running back goes to one side, the other linebacker is just going to drop and sit in a zone, whatever happens. So it makes it easier for your linebackers to play man coverage on these guys. So Bo Nix, he's looking at this. He wants to hit this wide cross. It's not there. Safety sitting over the top of it, ready to drive on it. He can't make that throw. And so it's taken away. He wants to then check it down. Your running back is back out. You can't go there. You're playing, and he's already past the point of committing to these deep routes. So he doesn't have the windup, because you also have a stunt coming through, and Kalia Davis is facing you down. So this is how you're marrying your coverage. Now, again, there was some illegal hands to the face. You don't get the sack here that you should have, because Kalia Davis doesn't get it. But you see how this is helping. This is a cohesive defense. What we haven't seen. Like that's what I get so excited about. It's a cohesive defense. Like, it feels like these guys are all understanding what they're supposed to do, which we just didn't see so much with Nick Sorensen.
It feels like they're succeeding because of the scheme. It's not just individual effort that's getting them opportunities to make a play. And it felt like so often last year, it was like, oh, Fred Warner did some crazy Superman thing and we got an interception or whatever. Or Nick Bosa just dominated at the line of scrimmage and that forced pressure. No, the scheme, the design of the defense is leading to success and putting guys in position to make big plays. And I know that like, on offense, sometimes people use that to knock certain players. Give it to me. I've seen what the opposite looks like on defense, and I do not care for it. Okay. So I love this from Saleh because it's so intentional. It's not an accident, and we desperately needed it.
And it feels like we saw a couple of these kind of things. I think it was the second or third preseason game last year. It was only like 2 or 3. We didn't see a heavy dose of this kind of stuff, where they were going from these mug looks into palms and quarter half, or into cover 3 or into cover 2. Like, we didn't see a lot of that. We saw a couple of them, but this is what I mean when I say it felt like last year Sorensen was behind on the installs. Like, it just felt like they were not even at this point by the second and third preseason game. That's what gives me hope and excitement, is people say, well, how do you know that they were behind? Well, because I didn't see this kind of stuff. It never got there. So, yes, these are things they did a long time ago. Most of these players weren't running that system. We only have like 3 players from the 2019 season. They're still on the team. It doesn't feel that seems crazy, but that's really the only amount of guys that are left. So this is showing how much of a commanding presence he is. So again, you come out in this man coverage look. You're showing like it's going to be cover 0. You got 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, and the Broncos are coming with a man coverage beater. There's an old air raid offense play, Mike Leach, where it's a mesh concept. So you run 2 shallow crossing routes in this area, and the idea is you create rub action in between these so that they pick each other as they're covering man across the field. So from pre-snap, Bo Nix is like, all right, I like what I see. But then you're going to back out of it. You only rush 4, and you're going to play cover 3 zone behind it. So you're going to play zone, and this is really, it's more Mabel, but what's going to happen is Darrell Luter's going to match this route, and he's supposed to let it go once it gets to the hash, and then come back and go pick up a crosser in his cover 3. And so he's going to match and then drop to a deep zone. You got a flat, you got hook zone, deep safety, and you got deep zone and an underneath. So now you end up with zones that are going to be sitting on these crossing routes as they come across. So what looked like you had a pick play is now you're running into guys sitting on these routes. And so Bo Nix wants to go here. He's going to drop back, and he's looking at these crossers, and he says, okay, they're sitting on these to attack them. Like I can't make that throw. You're going to have Darrell Luter's supposed to come pick up this crosser here. And this is D Winters. He's got to gain a little more depth there. But on that, I know he wants to attack, but they run into each other, Luter and Winters. This needs to be a little cleaner to pick up this crosser. But Bo Nix, you can see him. He's looking at this underneath route where you got guys ready to attack. And this is a third down, and it's not there. And so then he moves on, and the pressure's getting there, and he checks it down. You can see third down. Here's the first down marker, throws it short of the first down, and you get an attack tackle into the kill zone. This is what they talk about, the kill zone. You make them short, you make them throw it short, you come up and you make violent tackles. That's what they do. And so you see it in action that they had what they thought was a pick play, and then it's not there. You end up making the quarterback, watch him. He does not look comfortable at all. That's what you want to see. Quarterbacks not looking comfortable.
And I like some of these plays too that you're showing. They're not executed flawlessly by the 49ers defense. You're showing, hey, Siegel didn't get over where he was supposed to on one play, or in that case, Luter not dropping or colliding with another player. And even though they're not executed totally perfectly, they're still succeeding. And so, it's not even just like, well, everything happened to go right against the Broncos. It's like, no, they still screwed some stuff up, but what they're doing is so sound that they're still able to survive. And I think, honestly, especially early in the year with this defense, they're going to need some of that, because I'm sure they're not going to execute everything flawlessly, especially early on.
100%. You need a good pass rush, and making life difficult for a quarterback will cover up a lot of sins on the defense. It's kind of like a great offensive line can sometimes cover up a lot of sins by the offense. So, a great pass rush or can really help that out. But then also making quarterbacks work really just brings all this. Again, you have another moment. They're bringing so much look here. You have all these guys on the line. You have two guys off. You have a safety rolled over the slot. So that means your slot has the potential to come on a rush, and you come with all these slot blitzes. So that means the running back has to account for that. They've got to have something to account for that in some way. Either he's got to just go to a flat route. That means you're taking him out of the route tree. So you don't get to use him like you do Christian McCaffrey in so many different ways. You don't get to have him come out here and run a choice route where he can come out and have the time to come up here and choose which way he wants to go. He's either got to be on a block or straight to the flat as a hot when this slot's coming. So that's what you're doing. Again, you're dictating what the offense can do. And then what you do on top of that is then you don't have to bring everybody out, So you can see running back is watching the slot. He is taken out of the route tree because he's now a check and release. So he's got to check to make sure that slot, and you have man coverage with safety help over the top. So he can let this guy go inside. I got a safety, which is Marcus Siegel, over the top to help me. And you're playing just man coverage on the back end. You've been showing all these zones. You've been doing that. Now you play man coverage. You come with a 5-man rush. You're running a double stunt here. And you end up, if it was executed a little bit better, you'd probably have a free run at Bo Nix. But you still end up, because your slot guy can play inside and trail technique because he's got a safety over the top. He's able to undercut this route, and you force a very tight window throw on a receiver, and it's thrown just a tad short. And so Chase Lucas is able to go bat it down and get the pass break up. It makes it easier for your defensive backs to do what they're supposed to do. So you're helping everybody out in their techniques. This is a stunt that we run with Fred Warner all the time with Saleh and D'Amico Ryans. And if this is executed just a little bit better by Alfred Collins, you're going to see that this would be a free run sack. So you slant these two guys across. Tatum Bethune's going to attack the outside shoulder of the guard, and then he's going to loop around. And what you want to see, and you do see this a little bit, he's got to hold a little bit longer. You see Justin Smith is so good at this. Alfred Collins is going to attack the guard's inside arm, and he's got to hook him. Reach that arm up in there and grab that guy's arm and drag him with you inside so that you open up this lane for Tatum Bethune. And you see it. You see he's hooked it right there. He's got to hold on a little bit longer. He's got it hold it, man. It's like that old meme of Mel Gibson, hold. He's got to hold it on because now you get Tatum Bethune coming right through here. If you can hold this guard, if you can hold this guard, you got a free runner at the quarterback, but he's able to break free. He's trying. You can see it. I was trying to hold. It's not there, and he disrupts him just enough. But if that's Fred Warner and you're able to hold him, he's coming in, and this pass is never even getting off. It's never even getting off. And you're having Fred Warner screaming at the quarterback. How many times did we see Matthew Stafford staring down Fred Warner, running straight at him untouched? That's what is happening here. It's the same plays, same rushes we used to run with them. So that's why I'm excited. It's putting your players, and this is such a cliche, but you're seeing examples of what it looks like. Putting your players in the position to be successful. That's what it actually looks like.
It sounds simple. It sounds cliche, but that's really what it comes down to. And especially with the 49ers, luckily for them, some of the players that they are putting in position to be successful are elite players. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, guys that are not just good, not just great, but some of the best at their entire position. And so, yes, I know that they're leaning on the stars a lot. I get all that, but now it feels like they have a little bit of help from the defensive coaching staff, and it was sorely needed. And it has me excited. It has me really excited to watch this team on defense. I said it earlier in the week. You know, I'm not just in the fetal position saying, please don't hurt me when I watch them on defense now.
100%. You feel like the defense is going to be the aggressor, or at least the defense is going to be, I don't know if they're even the right word to say. It's like they're not sitting there. You're going, I hope the defense doesn't mess up. You're saying the defense is going to be proactive. And you have so much more now you can throw. It's not even about like volume. Nick Sorensen ran a lot of different coverages. It's that you're presenting so many different looks for the offensive line, for the running backs, for the receivers to react to quarterbacks to process. And when executed right, you're not just asking your blue chip players to be just all world on their own. You're saying, we're only going to ask you to do that 5 or 6 times a game. We're not going to ask you to do this 20 times a game, because we're going to set it up. If you do that 3 times a game, you're going to get 3 free rushes at the quarterback. Because if you can demand a chip over there from the tight end, now we can do this on coverage, and we're going to do this on the front, bring these stunt games. They won't be able to double you. We're going to get Fred running straight towards that quarterback, or we're going to get you, Nick Bosa, running free towards that quarterback through a lane in the middle, so that you can get those easy plays, those layup plays, so that you're not working your tail off to get doubled, and you're not getting frustrated through the game. How many times do we hear Nick Bosa the last couple of years talking about, like, I've just got to, not let myself get so frustrated, and just, do my assignment and still win and find a way to do it. I felt like, the big question we always had last year is people would talk about this in the last couple of years. They would say, well, don't TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, they get a lot of attention. They're still being productive. Why isn't Nick Bosa? And I felt like every time I was watching, I'm like, yeah, they're also getting some help from their defensive coaches. They're not just being asked to line up and be dominant every single play. They're given these stunts. They're given these opportunities to move around and be used and get favorable matchups. It felt like everybody was just asking Nick Bosa to be amazing because they couldn't, nobody else could command a double team. And they felt like we have to create one-on-ones for everybody else, because that's the only chance anybody has to win. If nobody else can beat a double team, so we're going to ask you to beat the double team every single time. And it just is like, well, you're going to get a Nick Bosa hurt, and you're going to get him frustrated all year long, feeling like I should be defensive player of the year, but I can't because we can't do anything else. And I just feel like there's so much more that it brings to the table now with Saleh.
The word you used and the word people in the chat are using is dictating to the offense. We're not going to be constantly playing games on the offense's terms anymore. And that is a relief, because you can't play defense that way. You just can't. And the Niners have the players and now the scheme, hopefully, to be able to dictate a little bit. So it's obviously very, very exciting. As you were talking, I'm just scanning, the Twitter sphere, looking for notes from practice. Apparently, Connor Colby just got Max Crosby on a stunt and planted him on the ground, which is exciting news. I mean, look, it's one play. I'm not going to get crazy, but good. I like that. Andre Dillard went on IR today, season-ending IR. He was activated on the 11th. Today's the 14th, and now he's done for the year. So some offensive lineman is going to have to step up. But I'm seeing kind of mixed results from the practice, not really one side or the other. Both teams are making big plays. Ricky Pearsall continues to look good. Hooray. I continue to say I think Ricky Pearsall could get 1,200 yards this season if he's healthy because Kyle knows how to use him, and I'm super high on Ricky Pearsall. Like, I cannot wait to see him in the regular season. Nice to see that he was making some good plays, but it doesn't seem to be as one-sided as maybe the Broncos practice was.
Yeah, and another thing to remember was that Broncos practice, that Broncos defense has been together for a long time, and they are a darn good defense. And we saw how good their defense was at the beginning of the preseason game. They played most of their starting defense during that first preseason game. They played most of their starting offense during that preseason game, the first couple of drives. And so, that defensive line is mean, it's fierce, and they've been playing fast. They got some great corners out there. That is tough. I do expect the 49ers to be a little bit more prepared for this Raiders team just because there's such familiarity in the scheme. You're not going against these vastly different looks. You're going to see stuff that looks really similar to what your team does. So it should be pretty even, and both sides should be a little bit more prepared, because you got Kubiak up there in Seattle now. And so he's going to be very, their offense is running a lot of the same stuff ours is. So these are two teams that it's different players, but running very similar schemes. So this is a good look for them.
Do have a little bit of breaking news. Matt Breida, former 49er, has announced his retirement from the NFL. When I think of Matt Breida, I think of that, what was it, the first play against the Browns on Monday Night Football where he breaks off that like
72 yards. It was a counter play. I remember that. It was a counter off a split flow action. He hit it, got through the hole, and then hit, I think it was 23 miles an hour. That's weird. I can remember that the actual call on that play. Yeah, I remember that one. That was when I was like becoming a Matt Breida truther at that point. This is the dude he's going to be the next all world running back. And then he kind of got injured and then just kind of fell behind on the depth chart. And Tevin Coleman came in, had that big 4 touchdown game against the Panthers. And then when he started getting hurt, Raheem Mostert came in, and then Mostert carried him, through the playoffs the rest of that 2019 year. But yeah, that was even Justin School was starting at left tackle on that play.
What, Justin School? Geez, I'll never forget Justin School because when John Lynch was talking about him, he was like, yeah, he gets beat often, but he dies a slow death. And I was like, if that's the thing that you could say about your offensive lineman, like, holy crap, this poor guy, I don't know that he's going to make it. I'll never forget that. I will never forget. That's your GM saying this. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Justin School. He's playing with the Buccaneers now. I'm pretty sure. I think he took some snaps at them last year.
He's still in the league?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Apparently, it's getting a little chippy.
He's a backup. Yeah, he's a backup. But it was things like that, like players like Justin School starting the beginning of the year in 2019 is why I had an exception to some of the things that Kyle Shanahan was saying on Sirius XM, where he's like, we built this team through the draft in 2017 and 2018, so we were able to go on that run in 2019 with mostly homegrown players. Sorta. I mean, do we count Justin School? I remember those first 6 games. Jimmy G was throwing for 180 yards a game. Justin School was getting beat at 2.5 seconds almost every single play. And so everything was a quick pass and everything was a run play. So yeah, you had a guy, Justin School, there was a starter, but he didn't last. Once Joe Staley came back, he replaced him. You had Dante Pettis was your starting receiver in that game, was one of your starting receivers. He came along so slowly. You ended up trading for Emmanuel Sanders. And so, that didn't happen. You also went and made some big free agent plays. I was like, if you count guys like Justin School, yeah, you built it through that 2017 and 18 draft, but they didn't grab that many players in that, especially in 2017 and 18.
I had no problem with what Kyle Shanahan said, which was essentially look, we got to hope to get better throughout the year and sneak into the playoffs. And once we get into the playoffs, who knows what could happen? Like, yeah, was anybody like confused about that? Like, I don't know why some fans are mad at him. I just don't get it. Like, to me, that's exactly where they are this year. And they could do it. They could easily win the division. Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Niners won the NFC West. But I also would not be shocked that they didn't make the playoffs too. Like, we got to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, and I'm not mad about that statement at all, or begrudging him for that. Like, this is a young team. They have a lot to learn and grow. I mean, some of these players are definite athletic trait projection picks. Alfred Collins being one of them. His long arms, like, they want to be his height and length and his ability to have power and stay low. That is a projection pick to be able to do more than just be a run stuffer. When you look at Micah Williams, that is also a projection pick. He didn't have a ton of productivity at Georgia. They're looking at what he can be and what he can turn into a guy. Yes, he's going to be very impactful his rookie year, but they're looking at, like, this could be an all-pro player because he's got some traits that rare, they're pretty rare, especially the length that NFL players have. So he can be an all-pro player his second year. Not going to be an all-pro his first year. I think that would be wildly, over-expecting what he's going to do, but he could be his second year. He could be his third year. I think a number of these guys are that way. My bigger issue was him acting like they built the 2019 team off of all homegrown players. He's like, this is like that. We had to go in the draft and we had to do that in young. They went out and got a lot of guys via trade, via free agency. I mean, you're talking Laken Tomlinson was a left guard. They got picked up by trade. They went out and traded for Jimmy G, who was the quarterback. They went and traded for D Ford, who came in. They signed Quan Alexander. We forget about Quan Alexander because Dre Greenlaw came on, but they were paying him $14 million a year when they signed him because Reuben Foster was having issues. They went out and traded for Emmanuel Sanders. They went and signed Weston Richburg to what was at the time the biggest center contract that had ever happened. They had some big time free agent acquisitions. They went and signed Mike Person in free agency. He was somebody who was playing significant snaps. He was a starting right guard that whole time. Started the Super Bowl. You had Tevin Coleman and Raheem Mostert were free agent acquisitions that were your running backs throughout the last end of the season. Like we were talking about, they took over from Matt Breida that were there. You had lots of guys that came in that were acquisitions that you brought in, not just guys that were homegrown players that were able to do that. And you had the holdovers of DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead, and you had Joe Staley. Like, so you had those. You went and signed Kyle Juszczyk to the biggest fullback contract by a mile. It was because they had to call him the offensive weapon contract. Like, those are all the things that they brought into the team to change the culture of the team. It wasn't just that. You brought in Richard Sherman to the big contract to be your outside corner. You went and signed Emmanuel Mosley. They didn't draft Emmanuel Mosley. So, I mean, I just look at that Super Bowl starting team and I go, there were players all over the field. There's like 11 players. Half the team were free agent or trades. You had 7 guys that were homegrown that were starting in that Super Bowl. So that's where I had some issue with what he was saying. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. You got blue chip players in George Kittle and Fred Warner and Mike McGlinchey. You had those guys that were there. DJ Jones is a very, very good rotational piece. Those are the 4 guys they got out of 2017 and 18. Like everybody else in that draft was not even like either on the team or playing in the Super Bowl at all, any meaningful snaps. So, yes, you got some blue chip players, but you did have to supplement. And hopefully I'm looking at, if this team is like, 7-2 by the halfway point, are you saying we're going to go make a trade because we have something? Let's bring in something to maybe push us over the top as some teams start to do that sell off, like they did with Christian McCaffrey in 2021. Or 22-2, excuse me.
Please get me to the world where the 49ers are 7-2 after 9 games.
I'm just saying it could happen. If we're gonna dream, let's dream big.
Hey, if you can't dream in August, when can you dream, right?
That's right.
Let's go. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you, everybody, so much. This was more of an example of what we're going to do now that we have actual games. We can examine some of the narratives, some of the things that stand out as we're watching them, see what holds up, and we dive into the film. So if this is your first time checking us out, please like and subscribe. Come back for more. I promise you won't be disappointed. If you want even more film breakdown, check out the Johnny Dale Football Academy on YouTube. It has all the film you could possibly want. Please subscribe, become a member. I promise you it is going to be worth your time. Did you see my show with Levin yesterday, Johnny?
I wasn't able to. I was so tied up. I wasn't able to see the show at 11. I normally try and catch it. I really do. And you see me in the chat. Normally I'm there.
That's true. All I'm saying is go to the end of the show. You won't be disappointed. And you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.